Yes, sir, you can start, sir.
Can we start, Monica?
Yes, sir, you can start, sir.
Yeah. Speakers of the today's session, CA Uttamchand P Jain sir and Shanmukha. Viewers of the today virtual webinar on TDS and TDS management in Tally. Good evening to each one of you and welcome you all to this CPE program organized by SIRC of ICAI on TDS and TCS management in Tally Prime. Friends, TDS and TCS are one of the mode through which government gets revenue instantly at the time of generation of income. TDS and TDS provisions play a very important role in maintenance of liquidity of fund to the government of India. Government gets approximately more than 40% of revenue in current fiscal year from TDS and TCS. It helps government in minimizing tax evasion. It makes cautious to taxpayers while calculating is the annual income and get credits of TDS, TCS as reflected in Form 26AS or TDS certificates issued by the deductor. It is an important for tax professionals because we have to execute and complete the whole process of TDS provisions on behalf of our clients. TDS majorly helps in bringing the unorganized sectors to comply with the tax provisions and keeps frauds at minimum. Likewise, TCS in GST regulates the online sellers and it keeps a check on transactions and ensures timely deposit of tax with the government. Friends, today how we can enable the TDS features in Tally Prime, how to provide the surcharge details and create the masters required to record the TDS and TCS transactions are going to be dealt by our eminent personalities, CA Uttamchand P Jain sir as well as CA Shanmukha CG. It's my privilege to introduce both the speakers. CA Uttamchand P Jain sir is a qualified BCom from AM Jain College, Chennai. FCA since 1996. He has done an immense contribution through the professional bodies, organizations by having various positions. He is past management committee member, Chartered Accountant Study Circle, Chennai, 2 terms of 3 years, past editor, CA, SC monthly bulletin for 6 years, March 2017 bulletin, 100 plus pages. Past president, Association of Chartered Accountants, Chennai, past co-opted member, Library Committee SIRC of ICAI, as well as Student Committee of SIRC of ICAI. He is a committee member, Seminar and Public Relations and Members Development Committee, BCAS, Mumbai for the years 2019-20, 2021 and 21-22. He has actively involved, participated in so many publications, in revision of publications of ICAI statement on peer review, a practitioner guides to audit of small entities, guidance note on bank audit 2018, etc. A guide to tax audit, co-author CAP Anand, 2 editions published by the Chartered Accountant Study Circle. He has submitted the direct taxes proposals published by Association of Chartered Accountants of India, Accountants Chennai for the years 2014, 17 and 2020 and 2021. Is statutory branch audit checklist 2020-20 an e-publication by SIRC of ICAI. He is very actively participated and given a lot of inputs in the publication of statutory branch audit checklist. With this, I conclude Uttamchand sir and I introduce Shanmukha sir simultaneously. Shanmukha sir is a graduate in BSc, Diploma in Computer Office Management, more than 26 years of total experience working with various software product companies, expertise in understanding SME requirements and has adequate domain knowledge in financial accounting, inventory management and taxation. Working with Tally for 16 years. Passionate in training people on IT adoption for business, training content creation, enabling trainers. Represented Tally as a speaker in more than 100 customer events during GST launch across South India. Played a key role in enabling professionals to adapt to work from home environment, prepared training contents and conducted more than 100 product knowledge sessions for GSTPs and CA institutes during pandemic. With this brief profile, now I present both the speakers to the viewers of the today's session. Sir, now the screen is yours. You can start the session, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Chegaleddy sir, for the excellent introduction. Good evening, friends. You are able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So with that, we will get into the session. I am not able to see the screen. Which screen you are right now?
PPT is visible to us, sir, actually. Business facilitator and the compiler.
Okay. Okay. Everyone will agree that today the majority of the businessmen, the mid-size and the small and big size, have been using Tally, and Tally has also been growing over a period of time. I have been using since 1996, and I have been in and out of Tally, so I am aware of what are the developments which have happened over a period of time. The Tally activities which have happened is over a period of time developed in such a way that the compliance relating to the just a minute, the compliance relating to all the scenarios which are there.
You are on slide only, sir. Compliance slide.
Yeah, I am aware of that, but because I am not able to see the screen on online, that's the reason why it was trying whether it can be seen both together. Anyhow, the Tally has gone into the level at which it can be complied with, where the compliance relating to any of these requirement which is there as per law can be done by Tally. So you can have the compliance relating to TDS, you can have compliance relating to TDS, you can do that. Without seeing, I will not be able to do it. Just a minute.
Under sharing option, you can see that whatever screen that is being getting shared to the audience. The drop down of sharing.
No, I am seeing only our screen. I'm not able to see the PPT on my screen.
No, you're seeing only the video, right? So you just click on escape button, so the video will go at the back, or it will be minimized. Actually, you just click escape button, the video window will be minimized, and then you can click on webcam drop down and shrink the screen. Actually.
Okay.
Now, can you able to shrink the screen?
Yeah.
Since you kept always in front, it is occupying the front page, actually, video. So if you want, you can.
But I am not able to go back on removing that always in the front.
Yeah, that can be done, sir. On the display, there is option called webcam, right in the top. If you drop down, there is option to disable always in front, so that it will go at the backstage. We click on the PPT.
Okay. But it is not doing for me as of now.
Maybe you can stop the screen sharing and try it out. So if not, so
okay, no problem. I have gone into the PPT alone. So when you are going to do that in Tally, it is allowing you to go beyond just account keeping. It can also go into the compliance level, and that is what over a period of time it has grown into as a software which is beyond just accounting. So when you see this as a Tally Prime accounting software, it is beyond that. So what we are going to see today is the TDS and TCS compliances, how you do it in Tally Prime, how Tally helps you or facilitates you to comply with the TDS and TCS provisions. That's what we are going to see today. Effective performance is preceded by painstaking preparation. the painstaking preparation has been done by Tally. So now there is an effective performance which is happening. And if you're not going to invest in the risk management, it doesn't matter what business you are in, it is a risky business. Today, non-compliance relating to TDS or GST is a very, very risky proposition. TDS compliance, if it is going to come and at the fag end, they are going to say that the tax has to be deducted, you have not deducted, or the TDS or the GST, you have not done it correctly. Then the compliance later on, the risk which is there to the business can also be a what you call the business risk of continuity itself. You may in such a situation form or get into a concept called this the carry forward of business itself may be at risk, and you also have the interest, penalty, prosecution, so on so forth. So many things to do. So that's the reason why the complying with the TDS and the TCS provision is equally important, and also the GST as the case may be, as you would have yesterday heard about it. Now this is my pet slide. Whichever activity you do, wherever you are trying to do it, the activity which is involved can be broken up into 4 parts: the source, destination, documentation, and the path. I have to repeat again, it is source, path, destination, and documentation. If someone can give me a starting point for the TDS TCS provisions, what is the starting point when a businessman wants to talk about complying with TDS TCS provision? Quickly, can someone put a and can someone help me in what is the answer you are getting? Majority of would have already said that it's a transaction which is the starting point. Actually, starting point is not the transaction. It is the starting point is the reading of the provisions of section TDS provisions and TCS provisions, because we have to understand that what is there in the law which has to be complied with, which are the sections which will be applicable to me, whether the TDS provision itself is applicable to me or not. So the reasons why I have to comply with TDS provisions, whether I am an individual, whether I am a company, whether I am a partnership firm, so on and so forth, I have to find out whether the TDS TCS provisions are applicable to me or not. That is the starting point, and from there we will move to transactions. So I have to see the TDS TCS provisions. I have to understand and appreciate the provisions, how it is applicable to me, and from there I have to see to it that my transactions are not covered by those provisions. If covered, then I'll move to the process, the path of deducting or collecting tax at source. And once I collect, I have to collect at the right rate, right percentage. And once I do that, I have to have the documentation. For what? The forms, for example, 15C, 15G, 15H, or the form 16, 16A, challans, from where I have made the payment, through to which I have made the payment, the return copies, all that I have to have a documentation. So this is the structure of any activity. For a TDS related activity, the structure is you are starting with the TDS provisions, the TCS provisions, and reading those TCS and TDS provision. From there, I will try to see whether my transactions are covered by that provisions. If yes, then comply with the TDS TCS provision at the time of passing the entries, and thereafter collate and keep the documentation, because for 4 years they may come back and ask you whether you have deducted, show me the challan. All that can be seen and that can be verified. If that is done, then I should have the documentations with me. So as I said, the crux is the transaction. There is the middle of any activity, and then I have to see whether this transaction is having an impact based on the TDS TCS provision. If yes, then at the time of capturing the transaction, I have to implement the TDS TCS provision. I have to see to it that I am complying with. The compliance is related to various procedures. As we go on, we will be able to see, and then the remittance to the vendor is the subsequent or a transaction which is not relevant for TDS compliance as per se, but that is also going to be a transaction which is there for the particular transactions which are relating to or having the impact of TDS. So the main crux is the TDS TCS compliance. So if it is that scenario, then we have to see whether the transaction, irrespective of the transaction, whether it is capital or revenue, TDS provisions applies. So once a transaction is covered by the section, then the TDS provision applies, whether it is capital or revenue or work in progress, whichever way you call it. The transaction of an entity, if it is covered by the TDS TCS provisions, then the TDS compliance is required. And then the TDS applicability has to be seen. The applicable TDS rates have to be seen. And for that, we have to move to the sections. So sections, we have to see which section is applicable. There can be overlapping sections like 194C read with 194I, so on and so forth. There can be an overlapping. So we have to come to a conclusion which provision will apply. Once a provision is applied, then you have to see that this is the appropriate section. Once that is the appropriate section, then we have to see whether there is an exemption limit available in that section, whether I am going to implement that or whether I am going to ignore that. And then I have to see who is the recipient, because the rate of tax will change based on the deductee. So once I know all this, then I will apply the deduction. I should not forget, if I don't have the PAN number of the deductee, then the maximum rate applies. So I have to see all this. So literally I have to walk through chapter 17B and see all the sections, 192 to 196 for TDS, 197 as well. Then I have to see 200 to 206. So I have to literally walk through the entire chapter to find out which is the provisions which are applicable to me, how it has to happen. I also have to see 197, because no deduction or no deduction certificate would have been issued. So that also has to be taken care of. Then I deduct based on all the holistic view I take. I deduct, and after I deduct, I remit the tax to the government. As a deductor, I remit to the tax to the government, and at the time of deduction and remitting, I again have to be watchful about all this, the BSR code, the challan serial number, and the date of remittance, because these are very, very relevant for you to go to the next step of filing the returns. So I should know the BSR code, which is a 7-digit numerical number, challan serial number is a 5-digit numerical number, and the date of remittance is relevant. So date of remittance, again, there could be some issues. I would have remitted today, but the challan gives you some other date. So all that has to be taken care of. We are not going to go deep into theory. We are going to go more into practice, how I am going to implement it using Tally. So this is the holistic view of the entire TDS TCS compliances, where I have to literally know the Income Tax Act, Chapter 17B, all the TDS related sections. I have to be very clear about what are the compliance related to the returns as well, where the challan serial number, BSR code, date of remittance are relevant. So I have to see all that before I say that I have complied with the TDS TCS provisions. And the return which I file is 26Q, 24Q, 27EQ, as the case may be. So with this, we enter into the arena of Tally. So with this, let us get into Tally accounting package per se. So you are able to see my Tally screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Your tally screen is visible to us, sir.
You are seeing the Tally screen opening as well as Tally screen, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sorry. Okay. So what we are going to do is we will try to create a company and try to implement the TDS TCS provision in Tally. So we will try to create a company. So by default, the path I have created. So this is the path by default it has taken. Just a minute. Okay, you are able to see my screen now?
Yes, sir. It is visible, sir.
Okay, so I am going to create a company where I am going to implement the TDS TCS provisions and try to see how the transactions are to be captured. And we go up to the generation of 26Q, and I also try to validate that. We'll try to validate that as well. Kindly note, we are machine dependent, so there could be some hiccups coming up in the machine as well. So how do I find out what are the hiccups? How do I overcome the problems which are created by the tally software as well? In between it will do, because the problem is garbage in, garbage out. If you're not able to give the information correctly, there's every chance that tally will not be able to understand. It's like giving instructions to our articles, and left right we don't give the instruction in a sequence. They get confused and it hangs and they go blank. The same way tally also will go blank if you are not able to give the transaction flow correctly. So let's start with it. Suppose we say this is a company A Limited. I am not going to go into the other because I have the habit of slipping into some other subject because the subject is so vast. So let me skip this. And I am going to go with the address. The purpose of this is to see or take your address across all the reports, including your TDS returns, in the returns which are going to be uploaded or you are going to generate. All that will be picked up from this particular information which you are given. The mailing name is for all the reports, the address is for all the reports. Whichever report you are going to generate, the TDS 26Q or for that matter challan, whichever one, it will automatically generate the report based on this information. Even the telephone number which you are going to give are going to be picked up. This is my mobile number. It will be picking up automatically, and this is compulsory to be given at the time of filing of your 26Q. This is compulsory to be given, so it will pick up automatically from here. So with this, I have created the company. So the company has got created, and it is immediately asking me what you want to maintain. So whether you want to maintain more, I'll say more details. It will give you the GST details as well. Or I can also say, show me more features. Show me all features. So automatically all the features will be shown to you. And one of the feature therein is your TDS. So this is very relevant. The TDS implementation, I am getting into it. In case you have completed the creation of the company without activating the TDS or the TDS TCS or the GST, as the case may be, in this screen press F11, you will get the same screen again. So you say, I want to activate TDS. TDS registration number, I don't know whether there is a separate number, but anyhow I can always give my TAN number. The TAN number, there is a sequence. We can understand from based on the TAN number where it was allotted. It is the 3 digit in the starting, which is the city code. Fourth alphabet is the first alphabet from the first name, followed by 5 numericals, followed by an alphabet, which is the validator. So it is either it is a corporate or non-corporate. In other words, individual HUF or company. When you mean company, even partnership firm should be taken as company. In other words, the nomenclature is individual HUF or other than individual HUF. And whether you are a branch or a division, you can say I am a head office. If you are a branch, you can always say I am a branch. And then it is asking you the details relating to the persons who are responsible for filing the TDS return. So this information goes in your form 27A. So in that, what is the name you want to give? Who is the person in charge? What is the father's name? What is the designation? Because it's a company A Limited, I am giving it a director. Director's PAN number. It will not allow me to type anything more. It's a 10-digit alphanumerical number. It will not allow me much more than that. In case I want to give some other address than the address which is given in the company data, I can always give a different address here, and that address will be picked up automatically. If you see at the bottom, all the above details will be used in challans, forms, and returns. So all the return forms or the challans, this will only be used and not the other address. So I can give the address and do it. Now it is asking me, as far as Tally is concerned, the commands can be given at multiple levels. I can say one level and I can say this cannot be altered. Once I can do it, if I combine the security levels with the Tally implementation for the statutory compliances, I can always stop error from the employee. An error from the employee can always be done, can be done from this masters which you create, and then you say these features cannot be altered or amended or can be even displayed to, that in other words, you say full access to the users who are there over a period of time. That's how it works. So it is the holistic or a company level configuration which you are trying to do right now. Ignore IT exemption limit for TDS deduction. So there are exemption limits for various sections. Section 194A has something, 194C has something, so on and so forth. So whether I have to ignore the exemption limit, because once the TDS is applicable, let me start deducting it. I don't want to get into the headache of not deducting and then finding out whether this was deductible, not deducted, not deductible, but deducted. I don't want, once the transaction is applicable, is covered by a specific provision, let the tax be deducted. That is what is ignore exemption limit for TDS deduction. This is the holistic. I can also do at the each level also I can do it. So I will do it at each level, not do it at here. Activate TDS on stock items. I can also do a TDS if someone is taking a stand that TDS on transaction which are in kind can also be applicable. So I can do that as well. So that's how I created the first level, which is called activation of the TDS provisions for this company. So overall, I have done the holistic, saying that TDS provision will apply to this company and I will activate the TDS, and then I have to do into the transaction level and then find out how I am going to do it. So as far as TDS is concerned and accounts are concerned, there should be a transaction. The transaction should be covered by TDS. If it is covered, then the tax has to be deducted and credited to an account. So that is the second ledger, TDS ledger, transaction, TDS ledger, expense or expense ledger, and the party ledger. These are the four ledgers which are there, and this all the four have to be married to each other or bundled to each other. If they are not linked to each other, in that scenario, you may land up in the Tally not doing the activity correctly. So again, I am repeating, the transaction, the debit and the credit, which are the two ledgers, that is the party ledger and the expense ledger, TDS ledger, and weaving all this will be the transaction nature. So there will be a nature of transaction, and which will be a thread, common thread between the three ledgers which are there, which are the ledgers are the expense ledger, the party ledger, and the TDS ledger. That's what it will do. Again, in Tally, there's one option of creating the ledgers first and then doing the transaction. Or the type of, at the time of creating the transaction, you can create those ledgers and you can also link those ledgers. So let us try with creating the ledgers at the time of transaction. Suppose I am saying on 30th April, I am going to pay rent. So I'll create a ledger called rent paid. And I can also say all rent accounts will be put together under rent, rates and taxes. I can do that. And that can be grouped under indirect expenses. And that indirect expenses can also be renamed as other expenses, because in the corporate world and when they are going to do the schedule 3 balance sheet, it is always the general name is other expenses. So I am going to get into the type of ledger it is asking, not applicable. Whether GST is applicable or not, I'm not going to get into it. Now I am going to get into not applicable, because yesterday you would have seen this is applicable, then you have to give the information based on that. Now whether TDS is applicable, yes, applicable, provided it increase the limit crosses. And I'll take an example where the limit crosses. The limit is 2,40,000 per annum, and that amount is going to be crossed. So now it is asking me, which is the TDS nature of payment. I'll say it is rent for land and building. Which section? 194I, 94I. These are all not relevant in today's world, but these are being picked up for the purpose of generating the challan, because in the challan, still the government wants the payment code. Section is required for calculation, but the payment code and the remittance code are not relevant. Whenever you are in Tally, it is always advisable to see for more details once, so that it will give you the details what is there. If there is any change, this is the place where you give, and also give F12 and see what is that which is. It is better that you open everything and see. And if you don't want, okay, this is not relevant, I'll say this is not relevant, so this is also not relevant. Non-resident I am not going to have, so this is what are relevant for me. So immediately it says what is the, with PAN, what is the percentage you want to give. These are manually given. Without PAN, by default it will show you 20, but it will allow you to rewrite also or overwrite also. You can say 30%, it will do it. And it is also asking me now whether the threshold limit exemption is what, at what level I have to start deducting. Let me not put anything here. So I have created the expense ledger. So let me give a transaction which is 1,50,000 rupees per month. I can create, and I can also do I can also maintain Billwise here itself, so that for every type of rent, I can say office, I can say the next one could be godown, can be warehouse, branch, so on and so forth. So I can have one rent paid ledger with multiple references there too. Let me create the other party, which is landlord. Let landlord be under sundry creditors. Again, I am not getting into it. You can again rename it as trade payables, so on so forth. Trade payables for expenses under trade payables, which are renamed. The sundry creditors are renamed as trade payables. Now it is asking me whether TDS is deductible. I have to say yes. TDS is deductible. Once I say TDS is deductible, now if you remember, I had given the flow there saying section, who is the deductee. If the deductee is so and so, the rate has to be different. If the deductee is other than individual, it can be different, so on and so forth. It is asking me a question now, whether tax has to be deducted in the same voucher. In other words, it is asking me a question, whether tax has to be deducted, or I am going to pass in a single entry, or I am going to pass a double entry. What do you mean by that? Debit expenditure, credit party. Debit party, credit TDS payable. These are the two entries which you want, or you want expense, debit, credit, TDS, credit, landlord, or the party. That's how this is a single voucher. Kindly go for more details. Show more. And see for yourself what is that which is been suppressed or done. There's something called provide advance master. This was available in F11. If I'm going to say yes, in the F12 configuration, I want to see the advanced master. Now it is asking me for what? We had created one nature of payment. If I had created multiple nature of payment, it will show me multiple. For example, the same landlord can be also a professional. So he may be also providing me a professional fees, a professional activity or professional charges he may be collecting from me. On professional charges also, I'll be deducting TDS. So I'll be deducting TDS on different nature of transaction with the same party. So I need not open different ledgers. In the earlier tally, we used to create ledgers, landlord for rent, landlord for lawyer fees, so on and so forth. Now they have done it in such a way that it can be in a single ledger. Now let me see what is the advanced feature. It is saying ignores exemption limit, surcharge exemption limit. It will be applicable where it comes to other than the resident payments. The surcharge may also come in. Ignore exemption limit. Because I have not given any exemption, it is saying undefined. If I want, I can give a applicable limit and then I can say for rent, what is the applicable limit? For what I am going to give, I can say. Now it is the next question, which is very, very interesting question, which is relating to the lower deduction or non-deduction. The lower deduction or non-deduction, again, we have to go back to the section 197 and 197 capital A. 197, the deductee approaches the assessing officer, that is his assessing officer, and files an application in form number 13, where he makes an application saying that this particular A limited, in this case, the landlord will go to his assessing officer and file an application saying that this landlord is going to file an application saying that A limited is going to pay me rent and they are going to deduct at the rate of 10%. I want a deduction which has to be lower because ultimately I'll be landing up only in refund. I don't have that much of an income. So with the documentary evidences, once he produces, the assessing officer of landlord will issue a certificate to A limited stating that you deduct at a rate which is lower than 10. It can go up to 0. So 0 or 10 in the range between the 0 or the rate prescribed under particular section, the 197 application can happen. That is also captured here. 197 lower deduction and 197A form 15G, 15H. Even 197, all the sections are not covered. 197A, surely all the sections are not covered. So 197 and 197A, whether they can issue or not, that has to be taken care of. Once I have a certificate, the certificate will always have some number and some date. Suppose he approached and he got it on, say 1/6/22, and it says, the certificate says it is from applicable from 1/6/22. We'll see the relevance as we go forward, and it says the percentage is 5. So it is with effect from 1/6. So all transaction effective 1/6, that's what the certificate says. The deduction has to be at the rate of 5%. Now it is asking me, we have moved forward. Now it is asking me, and that lower certificate can be for different sections, different nature of payment. So I have to capture for all, and it can be different rate for different sections possible. Suppose this is the address of the landlord. I'm just giving some dummy address, and this will be picked up for all the reports, including your certificate. Provide bank details. This is for the bank transactions, so we'll not get into it. PAN number. The PAN number I have to give. If I don't give the PAN number, then the tax will be deducted at the rate of 20% automatically. If the PAN number are not keyed in here, then this will be automatically picked up and it will deduct at the rate of 20%, the higher rate of taxes. And so I'm giving some dummy PAN number because you have to give the right PAN number, and that PAN number, provide PAN details. What is this? Provide PAN details is the details which can be different then what the ledger has been created. What the ledger has been created, the ledger has been created in the name of landlord. That may be a proprietary concern. The PAN name may be for the individual. So what is the name as per PAN data? That is what I have to give. Suppose I say it is L, something like this. There is some difference between the two. Then you will give, otherwise you will give the same as the name. This GST, we will right now skip because we would have already seen this. So we have created the ledger. So what I have done a transaction where I have said that the tax has to be deducted at the time of in the same voucher. So let's see what have we done. Again, we'll go back. We'll see what we have done. We have created a landlord. We created that under sundry creditors. We said that deductee is individual, deduct in the same voucher, and then when I say deduct in the same voucher, for which transaction or for which entries, suppose I have given only for rent in the same voucher, and for some other we have not given the same voucher, it will not deduct in the same voucher. And the exemption limit is undefined. Suppose I say it's applicable, and we said ignore exemption limit, no. So let me go back again and try to pass the entry. Rent, again I'm passing the entry 1,50,000. New, I am giving as office 1,50,000, and then to the landlord 1,35,000 is only coming because it is deducting that 10%, 15,000. And then I will say this is new. This is for a rent. If I want, I can also say April 1,50,000, and then I'll say rent April TDS. So this how I will be able to have a tracking of what I have done the transaction. The total transaction is 1.5 lakhs and the TDS is 15,000. And then I'll try to create a ledger called TDS payable rent building. Because TDS under 194I, if I put, I can put sections also. 194I also I can put, whichever is easily understandable. Based on that, you have to create the ledgers. I'll create the ledgers under TDS payable accounts. This grouping will help you in the finalization of accounts. So that's the reason why I'm touching upon the, but finally the TDS ledger should come under duties and taxes. If you want the automation to happen, if you want the calculation to be done automatically and captured, then the tax, duties, all should be the TDS, TCS, GST, all should be under duties and taxes only. Once it is there, it will show you the list of nature of payments which you have created already. Select from that. Maintain Billwise. Yes, I want to track it. So I will maintain Billwise. So I'll say for landlord, I have deducted 15,000 rupees. So I'll give the narration being rent provided for the month of April and TDS deducted thereon. If it is a lower rate, I'll also put that also in this deducted at the rate of 5% only. That also I will capture because the information has to be captured and kept. So literally we have done one transaction. Kindly remember, we had given in the landlord saying that he has a lower deduction certificate, but that certificate is effective from 1/6. So let me try to do a second entry. Let me try to pass an entry on 2/6. This time I am not doing on 31/5. I am doing on 2/6 the same rent 1,50,000 for the month of May. He requested me kindly wait for one more day. I will get the certificate, and he gets it. So I pass the entry on 2nd, because if I pass the entry on 31st, let me try to do it on 31st first. Let us do on 31/5. Kindly remember when you do against, because for me, whenever there is a new reference, it will automatically take against reference. And for me, the rent has to be accumulated. So I have to be very careful. If I just go like this, it will again ask me against what. So if I say debit, it will not ask me. So again, if you see, it is deducting at the rate of 10%. So I'll say landlord, and it says me this is already used. So this is the other way of saying that I will use the same thing, but I should remember what I have given as a reference. If I have given the reference, otherwise I have to use the against reference. So automatically it will accumulate on the same. I have used Control R to repeat the narration. Control Alt R are the narration capturer. So this is how the second voucher will be captured. Now let me do it on 30th June. 30th June, same transaction. On the same transaction, I am saying I am going to pass rent for 1.5 lakhs. I'll say new office. Then I don't require this to be changed. But I have to remember what I had given earlier. If I give something different, instead of that, suppose I give offices, it will not ask me because it will create a new reference called offices. Either this should be there, or you can go back and see against reference what is there and then give it. Now you see the difference. Now the rent has been deducted at the rate of 10%. Now instead of 10%, it has deducted at the rate of 5%. And now I'll say deducted rent provided for the month of June and TDS deducted thereon at the rate of 5%. So this is how the transactions are captured. So while doing this transaction, I have already captured the informations or the thread which is common among between the three ledgers that I have created and the three ledgers I have created. Which are the ledgers? Expense ledger on which TDS provisions are applicable. The party ledger whose PAN number and the PAN details have been captured, and the TDS ledger where I am going to capture the amount which is deducted and kept. And the common thread is the nature of payment. The nature of transaction is the common thread, that is the section 194 IA, whichever the section is. That section is the common thread between all the three, and that is how I linked all the three and the deduction has happened. So with this, the compliance related to a section for a quarter has been seen, right from normal deduction to the special deduction, including I can see the 15GH also I can do it. That is how the transactions are captured in Tally. We have done 50% of the module which is there inside it. Now if I want to see the module, what I have done, how much is payable, how much I have to pay, I can see that also. Go to statutory report, go to TDS report, go to 26Q, and it will show you the entire details which are available. So the number of transactions which are there, are 3, which are included in the return is 3. This is a triangular report which they call, which emphasizes everything. What is there, what has been deducted, what is remittable. It is at the bottom, if you see, this is payable. This is payable because I was out of the Tally screen. That's the reason why it was sung. And this is how the data will be seen. If you want to see further, if you want to drop down, you can just go enter, and you can go and enter and enter and enter. It will show you the entire detail. If you remember this can be exported into Excel. If I am going to get the deduction for all the parties, this can be exported, and in clause 34 of the form 3CD, I can easily link this and say this is what has been deducted as per books. So with this, we have completed that deduction part. The deduction part we have completed. Now let's move to payment part. In case you have some report here saying you have not deducted, then you can deduct right away here. Deduct for which party, which name, which nature of payment. It will automatically deduct whatever is to be deductible for that party where there is any short deduction done, any error done, or for example, you have captured the transaction. At that time, you did not activate TDS on that ledger, and thereafter you have deducted or activated. That means the previous transaction, the tax has not been deducted. That will be captured and found out and say that you have not deducted. It will always say that there are some uncertain transaction on which you have not deducted. Kindly deduct. The next is the transaction. The next level is remitting the amount. So remitting the amount, you can do it from here itself. You can say remit my TDS from 1st April to 30th April. It will automatically show you in the drop down box which are the section on which you have deducted tax and you are yet to remit it. As far as challans are concerned, you can remit through one challan for all, but as of now the challans have not been bifurcated because in the challan still there is a payment code is there. So that is the reason why they are also showing it separately. Now whether the status of the deductee is a company or a non-company, and whether you are going to pay it through which bank account. Suppose I say my bank account is HDFC account, which is created under bank accounts. I create a ledger. I give some details here. Something is there. I just give some HDFC code for that, IFSC code. All this will be relevant for your online payment. Someone may ask me question saying that whether online payment can be done using Tally. Yes, it is possible. For that, you have to do a different configuration. A different method has to be approached, but it is possible. And if you see here, they give the list of bank accounts itself. Suppose you see here, there is a list, huge list of 585 plus whatever is seen on the screen. It's around 600 plus transactions which are there. Once you narrow down, it will give you the name. And the BSR code. If you remember, I said that BSR code is a must for the challan to be accepted. So I am going to make the payment from 1st April. I did not give any value, any amount. By default, it picked up because you said up to. Suppose this was paid on, let's say, it was paid on say 10th April. So interest has to be paid. So I will add one more. Interest on late remittance, TDS, under other expenses. It all depends on where you want to put it. I can also say maintain Billwise. I can say no. Whether GST is applicable, not applicable. TDS is applicable, not applicable. And that's how I complete the transaction. It will say interest. Suppose this interest has to be paid. The interest is for 1 month. Suppose this was to be paid on 11th. It's 1 month. 1 month interest on 15,000 at the rate of 1.5% per month. So the calculation comes out automatically. Now if I print this, print the current screen and see, it is the challan which is generated. So I would just take this challan along with the check, go to the bank, make the payment, come back. So I will always say that in the narration, TDS deducted, and even if you have not seen the interest, I'll show that also again once more. The interest column fills up in the interest column itself straight away. The interest has got filled up in the respective columns because at that time itself we gave that it is in the interest. What I am remitting is interest. The PAN number, the address, everything has got picked up automatically. Automatically it has picked up and it gets filled up automatically. So the challan is ready. So for me, the document is ready and payment is made. So we have done the payment, we have done the transaction, we have done the TDS transaction, we have done the deduction, we have done the payment as well. So my return should be ready. We are missing something out. Yes, we are missing something out, which is the challan reconciliation. Challan reconciliation we are missing out. We are missing out on the challan serial number and the BSR code. So I'll do the reconciliation now. I'll do the reconciliation. There I will give the BSR code. The challan serial number, and it could have been prepared on 11th but paid on 12th, and which is the bank, which is the branch. This is how the transactions are captured in Tally as far as TDS is concerned. So any doubt, I think we can have the question answer now, because we have done one particular module fully. I'll do one more module and thereafter we'll try to generate a return and then try to see how it can be filed.
So there are not much questions actually. I'll just share my screen. There's only one question. Just
Okay.
show in GST invoice how to apply TDS. That is one thing. Is my screen visible, sir?
Yeah. In a GST invoice, how to apply TDS.
I'll just give back the rights to you. You can share your screen as you wish.
Okay. Let us park this question, because once I pass the entry where there is a GST involved, on the purchase invoice, that's what they are trying to tell. On a purchase invoice, GST is there and the tax has to be deducted on the value other than the GST. That is the question. So that question I will park it. I will take it in the next transaction, which I am going to take it up. There I will put it on purchases, and I will also activate GST, and I also will try to do a GST transaction, value, GST and TDS, and see how the TDS works there. I'll show that. But any doubt till what we have discussed on the parameters which you have seen right now?
There is one question. Is my screen visible?
Yeah. How to configure in case advance is paid and alter invoice is received after 2 months wherein no TDS is remittable? I am not able to understand. I am not able to understand the question, because how to configure in case advance is paid and alter invoice is received. Please show how to fix limits beyond which TDS is to be deducted. 194Q, one example, that is for the sale transaction. Okay. We'll do that. We'll try to do 194Q also. We will try to do 2061H also, where we are going to deduct on TCS. That also we'll try to do. In case of an advance paid and alter invoices, see, once you have deducted and remitted, there are two options available. As a deductor, you can make a claim for refund. the deductee cannot claim legally. Legally, the deductee cannot claim. Legally, the deductee can only claim for transaction which is forming part of its income. That is the legal position, and that is the reason why they brought in a provision wherein a refund can be claimed by the deductor. Okay, so if the tax is not to be deducted, then you have to file a revised return and reverse the TDS transaction which is there and release your challan, and the challan will be kept open. That challan which is kept open can be used in a subsequent deduction and remittance. That is what is I understand from the question number 2. How to fix limits beyond which TDS is to be deducted? You have to just give the limits. That's it. Where you have to give the limit saying this is the value based on which it has to be deducted, that it can be deducted. TDS deducted in the month of March and payment was made in April. While passing the TDS payment entry, the TDS against the reference details are reflected properly. Subsequently, the tally data was split and against reference details in TDS payment entry disappeared. These are certain issues which are there. You should have checked the data before splitting. There's something called verify data before splitting and thereafter split. And sometimes the references get mismatched when you split the data. That it's only a technical issue. I don't have a ready-made answer for it. How to use TDS module in Tally for section 206 AB? See, the 206 AB is a provision which is there in the statute which says that if the tax person has not deducted tax, so literally you have to only configure saying that higher rate has to be deducted. You have to configure manually to that party and then do it, because no software can help you in doing it, because it has to literally go to the website, try to find out whether the person has filed the return. If he has not filed the return as per the provisions of 206 AB, then the higher rate has to apply. So then you have to give that rate as a higher rate in the provision and then say that this higher rate has to be applied to this person. Share an example to create 194C because it has two limits. If single bill exceeds 30,000 and consolidated 1 lakh. Sir, either of the one only will apply, not both, right? Either I have a bill exceeding 30,000 or I don't have 30,000 bill. I have small bills, like take an example of a courier guy. If I have a courier bill, every month the bill is coming. In the month of March, it is crossing 1 lakh. So the TDS provision will apply. So I have to literally take a call whether I'm going to apply the limits or I'm not going to apply the limits. If I'm not going to apply the limits, straight away I'll start deducting right from the word go. Majority of the courier guys accept that yes, let the TDS be deducted right from the word go. How to deduct tax amount entry? First, we need to make the payment. Later, we will get the invoice. The TDS has to be deducted at the time of payment or the entry, whichever is earlier. So when you're going to make the payment entry earlier, the TDS has to be deducted earlier. You would have already deducted, so again second deduction will not happen. Can you please explain about TDS challan verification? The TDS challan verification is not within Tally. The TDS challan verification is outside Tally, where you have to verify the challans, whether these challans are correctly done or not. You can go to the website tin.nsdl.com. There you can go and say, I want SIN-based verification. You can do a challan verification and it will match and tell you whether the challan serial number which you have keyed in is correctly done or not. What is the accounting procedure if we receive credit note from our vendor for which we have already deducted TDS in the previous quarter? See, again, the question is very simple. If my gross receipt is already there and I want to reverse it, then I have to reverse or file a revised TDS return and then only I can reverse the challan, open the challan and keep it for my other vendor. Normally in case of credit notes where there is no full reversal, we normally do not reverse the TDS portion. We say TDS portion, you can claim it as a refund. This you show it separately. Can we file the TDS return statement from Tally as well? No, you cannot file the TDS return. You can do one step before filing the return. How do you file a return? In whichever software you do it, the return filing happens through a file called with an extension .fvu. So it's a file validation utility based on which you generate a return and that return gets uploaded. So the return which is to be uploaded through an FU backend is a text file which is validated through that file validation utility FVU, which is 7.5, I think release 7.5 now. That alone gets activated. It throws up error if there is an error. If there are no errors, then it will say that okay, your file validation utility file is ready. Go and file with that in FC. That's how it happens. So Tally helps you in preparing the return, but validation you have to do it using the tin-nsdl.com, the file validation utility software. You have to validate and then try to do it. So how do you please Sally the advanced TDS deduction on advance? We'll try to do it. We'll try to do that also. Any other questions which are there relevant to TDS provisions as of now?
1 minute, sir, 1 minute. There's one question, last one.
Is there any option in Tally by which we can check that TDS is not short deducted in any ledger? Yes, we can do it. Yes, that is the report which I saw. The last report which we saw was the report relating to, see, the as far as Tally is concerned, what it will do is it will find out the report and throw up the report, provided you have given the ingredients correctly. If you have done all the ledgers, if you have said these are the ledgers on which TDS provisions are applicable, then it will automatically throw out saying that yes, has not been deducted, kindly deduct. For example, if you have created ledgers without PAN number, you can generate a report which are the ledgers without PAN numbers which are there, possible. And you can update it from that screen itself, possible. So it will allow you to check the TDS deducted. Can you just scroll up again? Let me note down what is that which they want. 194C. Okay, right.
Those are the questions, sir. So
Yes,
can we
sir?
go for? So those
Yeah,
were the
we can
questions.
go for, yeah, we can go for the session.
I'll just make you presenter again, sir. And,
So this is the report which I showed you, where the non-deduction also will be shown to you here itself, saying where you have not deducted. Where all you have not deducted, it will show you up. It will also not, so for example, it is showing here, one entry which I passed is not relevant. So it is saying not relevant. But if you want, still you can go inside and see. You can go and see what is not relevant. And you can, once you complete it, you can save the return as well. You can save the return and then passes the return. So let us try to do some other transaction. Suppose I have made a payment to a vendor, say a vendor who is a transporter. Let us not take transporter, let us take any other person where the TDS is applicable to this guy, and this person is a partnership firm, and I want in the same voucher, and I want to create now a new one. Payment to contractor. You can use the same nomenclature which are there in the section. Payment to contractor, other advertisement, so on and so forth. You can do that. 194C, 94C, Someone was asking me the question, because 194C, if I am giving, it will ask me, what is the limit for the single bill? 30,000. With PAN, 1%. Without PAN, so other deduct is 2%. And the exemption limit, threshold limit, I can give, say for example, if I give 10,000, I am just giving, trying to do some garbage I want to give. What happens? Let's see. Advanced feature, I'm not getting into anything. There's no lower deduction. Exemption limit is undefined. I have to give the address. PAN number. Let's not give the PAN number. Let's see how it works. Immediately it deducts. It deducts at what rate? 20%. Let's see how it works. Now let me go and see the report. Unsigned transaction. Why it is not there? Because it says PAN is not available. Unknown status. Applied, not available. If I say not available, it will accept and then go and fall in saying that it is not available, so higher rate straight away. So that's how it works. If I'm not going to give, and if I want to say now I want to find out ledgers without PAN, and I know this partnership firm cannot have, and it gives me the PAN number later on. Now if I go and see 26Q. Tax was deductible at 1,000 rupees, but I have deducted the rate of at 10,000 rupees. So 9,000 is excess deduction. Automatically it will show me. So this was done for the advance. This was an advance payment. So I have done it based on the advance payment. The deduction has happened. So I will remit that also now. Let me try to remit from here. There also, from here also I can do it. It's not allowing me. Automatically it says payment to contractor. If I say company, sorry, non-company, resident, SDFC, the entire amount which has collected has to be remitted, so it will be remitted straight away. I will not be using the challan for that purpose, but I will be remitting the entire amount. Otherwise, I have to reverse that entry of 9,000, and then, that is, in other words, I have to reverse the entire advance payment and then process a fresh payment of 50,000, and then that's how it will work. Now let us try to do for an expenditure. Let us do for an expenditure where GST is also involved. So first GST is involved, so let me activate GST. I'm giving some number. It is saying it is not matching. So some number I'm trying to give. I'm not getting into the GST portion at all. So I have a purchase and this is an expenses. Say I got it done from this guy itself. This guy is supplying me material as well. Let me try to do that. So I will say that his GST number registered this is what the problem is. If you are not activated before, thereafter you come and do it, this is how it will happen. It will not show you the GST details. This GST number was not coming earlier because I had modified in that screen. So I have to go out and come back for the updation of the screen, not the data screen. Say suppose I pass an accounting entry. I'm not getting into the details because I'm trying to do a GST scenario. So do not get into the scenario saying that yesterday something was said. TDS is applicable, yes. And it is a payment to, let it be contractor itself. And if I say this is given as 1,45,000, something like this, then I create the CGST input account under duties and taxes, GST, central tax, SGST, kindly be careful about what you are trying to write. Because it has to be same what you are writing across, so then it will become easier for you. One more thing which you have to remember is whenever these calculations comes automatically, whether it is TDS or GST, that means your configuration is correct. If it is not coming correctly, then your configuration, there is something wrong. If it is coming for one transaction correctly and it is not coming for the other transaction correctly, that means there is some problem here. For example, if I put the vendor as a interstate or the other state, for example, if I say vendor is from Maharashtra, and then I put CGST, SGST, this calculation will not happen. So that is the reason why the calculation doesn't come. Otherwise, the calculations will happen automatically. Now it's asking me the question. You're able to see the entire scenario which has happened. Earlier, we had deducted 10,000, which was more than what is required to be deducted. It was only 1,000 because PAN number was not given at that point of time. Thereafter, now I have the PAN number as well, and now the transaction is happening, and that's the reason why it is adjusting the 10,000 and then deducting the entire amount based on that. If you want to see the calculation per se, it is not calculating on the, if you see the total here, it is not calculating on the GST portion, it is calculating only on the contract value, not on the GST portion. That is what the law says. GST portion, no TDS shall apply. So this is also we have done. So if there are any doubts in between, please let me know, because once I get into the return, the next part is return, or before that I may also do 194Q.
So there are 3 questions. Let's see whether it's relevant to these topics.
The question is now.
So there's 3 questions from 14, 15, 16. These 3 questions.
Okay, short deduction I have shown it. Can you show the report where TDS is not deducted wherever it is applicable? I showed you that. I did the transaction where the tax was not deducted, and then it showed the deduction what is required to be deducted. What is the procedure to claim refund excess challan paid? This is not the subject for the year, and we are unable to utilize the challan paid for 2 years. There is a procedure, there is a form. I don't remember the form number exactly. You can make an application, get a refund. You have to contact your local jurisdictional officer, make an exemption, make a claim for refund, and once they will verify, and thereafter the refund will be given. That's what, when we saw the transaction now, it automatically adjusted the excess TDS paid earlier. Whatever the excess TDS deducted was adjusted in the subsequent payment, because the money is not lying with me. I have already remitted. It was the error on the part of the deductee to give me the details, and based on the details I had deducted and remitted. Once I have remitted, the amount has gone out of my pocket. So I can always say that when your next transaction is happening, this will be adjusted, and that's what has happened. Okay, I'll pass the entry again and show you. No problem. Should be considered. Okay, we'll pass one entry and show you how it can happen that way. Take for example, if I am on say 2535 and I have paid another repairs and maintenance, I paid him another 50,000 rupees. To the vendor, and I paid the entire amount. I paid the entire amount. I have not deducted the tax. Display, statutory report, TDS report, 26Q. It shows what is not deducted. What is not deducted is 8,000 rupees. It is showing me. As on 30th June, what is to be deducted, what is not deducted, it is showing me 1,000 rupees has to be deducted. So this is how it will show you. Balance deductible, it will show you here. This is how the error reports will be given. That's how the limits will apply, where I'll say threshold limit is 50 lakhs. We did not give the PAN number, so automatically it took the higher rate. So automatically deducts and then the amount will be remitted. That's how the 194Q also works. So this is how the provisions are to be applied. So we have to understand the provisions first, and then you have to see the ingredients of the provisions and see whether that provision is applicable to me. Once it is applicable to the deductor, then it has to be implemented. And once you are implementing it in the manner in which I have shown you, it will automatically deduct TDS accordingly for all the transaction, and it will also show you the errors which are there. And I have also shown you how the payments have to be looked into, how I have to say that whether the statutory payments can be made from 1st April to 30th April. It will show you what is the amount to be paid. This I have to be careful, where I have to say which one has to be deducted where. I can just say control A. It will just say. Now I have made 2 challans. I have made 2 entries. Now let's see how the returns get generated. Any reconciliation which is to be done has to be done here. So I have to give the challan serial number and the BSR code. Something I have to give. Let's see, I am giving an error in the challan serial number as well as I am giving the error in the BSR code and challan serial number. My return should not go through. Let's see how it works. My return should not get validated. In other words, my return should not get validated. So if I have to now say the return, so if I have to, it's not showing. So I have saved the return, and now I want to export the return. I have to export the return. Please do not see that this is how it will come, because for me I have configured that all my exports which are happening from this tally should go to this file only. So whether it is a regular return, if it is filed for the earlier period, some number I am giving. So let me send this return. Now this has got exported and it is available here. You're able to see my screen now, where I can, there is a tally T export file folder.
Yes, sir. Screen is visible. You can go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So what I will do is, now I will try to go to my file validation utility, which is there in this file, where I have that file validation utility. Okay. This is the file validation utility. I open this file validation utility. Once the file validation utility is open, now I have to browse for the input file. I am not able to do because I have not done it through Tally, any of the Tally utility. So it's asking for the challan input file. Normally this is what happens. It says that once you export this, once I export this, once I export this, it will override there. I am not aware because I have never used this utility, but this is how the activity happens, where you can export the e-return, and once you give that, once you give some number, once you give that number, it will say that validate the exported file using before submitting the data. That's how it can be, return can be filed using the Tally data. Even otherwise, if you are using some of the softwares like Spectrum or Computax, I think they also help you in filing the return by pulling this data into that particular software, and then it can be uploaded. So with this, we complete the TDS module. Any doubt we have before we enter into TCS module? If there are some queries on TDS module, we will address that before we can venture into TCS module. So TCS, again, it is on two concepts which are there in the offering. One which says that you collect tax on receipt basis, and some are saying that we will do it on accrual basis itself. Though strictly speaking, the law is clear that it has to be on receipt basis, but there are certain people who are saying that in the purchase invoice itself, I will include the tax to be collected, and I can put it there itself possible. That is one other way of looking at things. So let us try to do on accrual first, or I can do it on receipt first, whichever way. So let us do on receipt first then. Say HDFC, I have received a money from a vendor who is a buyer from me. For me, I am a debtor. So this is a debtor for me under sundry debtors, and the TCS provisions will apply to this person. So I'll give the PAN number. So I am getting the money from this particular person to whom I have made a sale, and I am receiving an amount of say 50 lakhs from this guy, and I want to collect TCS on this guy. The provisions which I am writing may not be correct, but the intention is okay. We have not activated TCS ledger itself. So that is the first error which we have done, and that has to be rectified. So I have to copy this and paste it here. So automatically, once I do it, it automatically skates the scenario. So TCS gets activated. Alt C, TCS on sales on cash. I'm trying to create both so that you'll understand that 206.1H. If I'm not wrong, it is 6C something payment code. So if it is with, otherwise it is 1%, where the tax has to be collected on the realization. That is what is the scenario where you have to say yes, because I am saying it is on cash. So it is on cash. I am saying it has to be deducted on what amount, which is crossing 50 lakhs. This is a basic exemption limit which is there. So I have to give that. Now it is asking me a question whether you want to get into that basic exemption limit, yes, and then deduct on the balance or collect on the balance, or you want to ignore that and start collecting from the, so calculate tax on value exceeding that exemption limit, or ignore the exemption limit and calculate on the entire amount. Suppose I say yes, what happens? Let's see. So this amount, it will not come. The calculations will not come because we have said it is only over and above that amount. Now let us say this amount is 51 lakhs. It is not calculating. So that means there is some error in what we have done, what the configurations we have done. So we have not configured correctly. That's the reason why I did the error, to show you that how the errors will be not displayed at all, but you have to find out by your intelligence how the error has been done. In other words, the very checklist is whether I have linked all the three ledgers which are there. The link was missing here. Suppose I say this is the company resident or individual, sorry, individual resident advanced feature. Now whether to ignore exemption limit, all that is there. Whether to override calculation realization based on nature of goods, all that is available. Now once I do it, suppose I say 51 lakhs. Automatically it is only deducting on the amount over and above 50 lakhs. Over and above 50 lakhs it is collecting, and you have to say it is for debtors. So this is how the transactions are captured for cash transactions, where you are saying you are going to deduct only on cash. Only on cash you are going to collect the tax and remit it. That is what is the provision which says, but practically it is very difficult, and it becomes difficult for us to track it. So what they do is they say you will deduct, you will collect at the time of sales itself. So on accrual basis, on the sales itself, I will do the collection. So I will do the collection at the time of sale. So I am doing an invoice, which is a accounting invoice. Let me do a sales. Not applicable. Let GST also be applicable. let us put it as sales taxable. I am just giving some other method because this is not the right method to do it. But when I want to do quickly, this is how I will do it. TCS is applicable, and I'll say TCS on credit now. I'll say TCS on sales on accrual. I'm just trying to do both through a single transaction, a single data. Even percentage may not be correct. So again, I'm saying threshold limit is 50 lakhs. And now I am going to say 51 lakhs is the amount. And then I have to create CGST output 9%, sorry, output account, and duties and taxes, GST, CGST, then I'll say TCS. So I have to create one more ledger, TCS collected accrual. So automatically it calculates, but this time it has not ignored the exemption limit. It has not ignored the exemption limit, and it has deducted on the entire value. It has deducted on the entire value because I have not said value exceeding this. And it is saying from which date. So from which date I have to start doing it. It's still calculating at that rate because I have not given the configuration at the initial stage. So whenever you are trying to do something, it has to be done at the initial status itself, so that the configurations once done, it will calculate correctly. Let me try out again by saying, let me try again. It is not ignoring the exemption limit. So the configurations are very, very relevant. Once you have not done the configuration correctly, you may have to again try till you complete the configuration correctly. We have given the PAN number, but still it is deducting at a higher rate. Okay. So these are the issues which are there. Whenever you are trying to do the TDS or the TCS module, this is how the issues will come. Now coming to the report, TCS report, Form 26 EQ, this is how it will show you how much is the under exemption, how much has been the transaction which has happened, how the transactions have been captured. Uncentered transaction, because one sale transaction we are not able to do it correctly. That's the reason why it is showing you that particular transaction. Let me try again. It's not working correctly. So that's the reason why. The reason is the transaction which I have given has not been configured correctly. If it is configured correctly, it will be always showing you the transaction exactly what it is there. So that's how it works. Any doubt till this before we venture into even this return? Okay, any doubt till this before we venture into? And if there is any other doubt outside this TDS module also, you can ask for. Anything beyond this also can be asked for. It is not that it is restricted to the TDS TCS module. Whichever possible, I'll try to answer. So we have completed the TDS and as well as the TCS module. The return filing in TCS module is again very similar what we saw in the TDS 26Q model, where we have to just save the return, and once you save the return, thereafter you can export the return. You can export the return. So any doubt till this? No doubts.
Yes, I have compiled a few questions, sir. If you want, I will share my screen.
Yeah, please.
Can I share it, sir?
Yeah. Sir, it is not clear which report shows. Sir, the report very clearly said not deductible. Deducted and not deductible, it showed you.
Actually, from 14th question we need to take, sir. How can you show the report?
Where TDS is not deducted, where it is applicable. That's the report I showed. And again, the same question comes saying, sir, it is not clear, the report TDS not deductible. I'll show it again. What is the procedure to claim? That also I have answered.
Yes.
When we are deducting TDS, this also is answered. 16 is also answered. Now only 17, 18,
yes,
19. 17 again, I'll try to show you. Is the interest for late payment is calculated automatically? No, automatically it will not be calculated, because in Tally, or for that matter any accounting software, the tax will always, the interest will be always calculated based on number of days. But whereas in for the income tax TDS purposes, it is month or part of a month, the full value has to be calculated. So it will not calculate automatically, but you can calculate automatically by putting on the amount column, press Alt C and give the calculation and enter. It will take you the calculation. That's what I did. I did that way only. I put the interest and then I say Alt C and calculate interest. It calculated interest automatically. Is there any facility in Tally Prime for TDS on salary 24Q? 24Q, yes, it is there. Payroll. Payroll can be activated. For that, you have to activate payroll and configure. There are many ledgers to be configured, including your basic DA. All that has to be configured. Once you configure the details, basic PA and all that, then you have to say how we are going to calculate the salary. It is based on number of days or based on number of man hours, so on and so forth. It can be multiple also. It can be multiple group of employees categorized under multiple scenarios, and then the calculation can be automated, and even the ESI PF calculation can be automated, as well as any advance taken by the assessee, that also can be deducted along with your ESI, PF and all that can be done in Tally. It is possible. But this is a separate module in itself, which is called payroll. If you press F11 in features, you can see payroll. Activate the payroll, and thereafter you have to create all those ledgers. Which is the best software for filing TDS? It all depends on which one you want to do, whether you are using Computax, Spectrum, Taxman, so on and so forth. Any software where you are comfortable, that is the best way to do it. How is TDS under 194, 195 handled in Tally? It's very similar. You have to say it's a non-resident. When you're creating the person, the nature of payment, all that you have to do it as non-resident. And once you say it's non-resident, the tax deduction will happen. What if I have 4 branches in 4 different states and maintaining accounts separately for different branches? There will be 4 FU files. How to file the return then? Practically, it is not possible. You have to merge the data. So normally what we do is we do something called sync data. Sync data is one more data which is created, which is at the head office, which synchronizes or captures all the data and merges together into one, and then one TDS return is filed. We have to wait for that group company concept which was there earlier, where there was a group company concept and where the statutory reports can be generated for a group of companies. Even today we can create a balance sheet for a group of companies, but for statutory it has not yet come. Once it comes, it will be able to help. What is the TDS procedure for online vendors which make my trip or so on and so forth? Deposited hotel to whom we deduct TDS, either to make my trip at 10% or hotel at 10% in the 194I. First of all, 194I, 2,40,000. Are you going to pay that much money for the hotel accommodation? I don't know. But even if it is done, to whom do you have a transaction? The transaction is qua the hotel, qua the make my trip. If it is make my trip, then it's a contract. It is not an accommodation. You have given a contract which is a composite contract for some work to be done for you, including booking of hotels, everything. So in that scenario, that is the scenario where you make the payment directly to make my trip, or are you making the hotel payment? Who generates the bill? That is the criteria. Based on that, TDS will be deducted, and you have to request that guy to refund you, because normally they will collect the full value from you, and that is how it happens. Okay, you are trying to tell me what error I had done. Yes, good. That is how it has to be. We always make errors and we don't find it out. Someone else, when he sits, he finds out, or when I give a gap and come back, I will be able to find out what error I have done. Sometimes you have to close the book and again open the book to read. Thank you for highlighting it. How can you solve the problem? Mistake happened in TCS exceeding 50 lakhs. The previous answer gives this answer, because the date, effective date was 5/5, and that is the reason why it is giving the problem. Normally it will not give a problem unless until the content which are given, the conditions which are being shared, the reasons which have been given to them is not correct. This will not have an impact. What is file validation utility means? Sir, in case of a tax, a TDS scenario, there is something called a validation which has to be done before the return is uploaded. In other words, the return which we are trying to upload is validated or verified before it can be taken. Like what you do in your income tax return, it validates before it picks up. Before it is accepted, it validates and says there is an error in this particular column, or there is an error in this particular area. So that is how it happens. The same thing happens here also. There's a substate utility where the utility sees the errors which are there and throws up an error report. Once the error report is rectified, and if there are no errors, a file is generated with an extension called FVU, and that is the file which you have to file with the TIN-FC or online. How to export details, deduction details to Excel? including deduction date and with respective invoice number. I'll try to generate a report and show you. Maybe that will help you how to generate that report. Can you explain the TDS accounting of a GST invoice? Once again, yes, we'll try to do that. Sir, can we leave company, non-company deductive blank as it is not mandatory? I'm not able to understand. Challan, if you want to leave it blank, like when you are going to file online payment, these are all compulsory. If you have gone to the website of tin-nsdl.com, online utility payments, these columns are there to be filled up. So if you leave it blank, the bankers will not object to it. The bankers cannot object to it because when you make the online payment, when I get into it, at that time, it doesn't ask me the details. Kindly show TDS configuration once again. What do you mean by that? What is this question? Kindly show TDS configuration. You want the entire configuration flow through? Kindly
So those
let
were
me
the
know.
questions actually. So those were the questions compiled right now, sir.
No, correct. But I want the 31, more clarity on 31. So
We'll
someone
see, sir. Actually, the member is an online only. So we'll see, sir. We'll see if he's like again raising the question clearly.
Okay.
So, sir, we'll go on with the session, sir.
No, just go up. Just go up. One was the report, TDS report. The other was no. Someone asked me to repeat one particular.
Yes. What?
No, not before 14. After one.
So, sir, it is not clear which is the best software for filing TDS report shows, or this one, sir.
No. They wanted some transaction to be repeated again. That interest calculation, I'll show you again how it has been done. Okay. This I have answered. Okay, go down.
Yes.
Okay, further. Okay, can you explain TDS accounting and the GST invoice and purchase? Okay, share my screen.
Yes, sir. So there is another question raised. Can I project it, sir, also?
Yeah.
So
Sir, can we interutilize the challans? Yes. As far as challans are concerned, now there is no requirement qua 26Q, 24Q as well. A challan can be used partly in 24Q, partly in 26Q as well. It can be done. It is not necessary that whatever you have written in the challan will be useful. It is not useful at all. It is a information which has been captured, but now they have allowed you to use the challan interchangeably.
So those were the questions, sir. So
Okay.
I'll give you the presenter, right, sir?
Yeah.
So now you will be able to share the screen from your end, sir.
Yeah. So the first question which I'll try to do it, the export. So if I am going to export a ledger, TDS ledger, suppose I want to do this and I want the information based on the period. I want the entire information. What I can do is I can make it columnar, and in the columnar you see what all you want. You want the PAN number, you say I want the PAN number, and then narration, you want yes, and it will give you the details. This will give you the details, entire thing, how the movements have happened in that particular ledger. And you can even create a pivot. Once you create an Excel, you can create a pivot on this. So that will give you the summary. Hope this is useful. Let me try to give it on contractor where you had that. So you're getting the, you wanted the invoice number also, correct? Let me try again. Invoice number is not coming, but if you are going to give the reference number, the invoice number comes. So you have invoice number wise details also available. The invoice dated, I'm not sure whether dated is there. Yeah, dated is also there. So you have the invoice date also. So you have the voucher number coming and the entire report which you wanted is available, but this is ledger wise. So you can export it to one Excel and then try to do a combination of the Excel files which you have and convert into one Excel possible. The only condition which you should remember is in the all the ledgers you should have activated all this so that there's a common thread among all the ledgers which you create. So for that, what I will do is I will do a creation like this. So what I did, I was in a particular ledger. I moved between the ledger by pressing F4 and I get into like this. So every ledger will have the same number of columns up to this, at least up to this PAN number narration, the same columns will be there. So it becomes easier to merge the columns which are there. So the next one is GST invoice. I'll try to do again. One more voucher I'll try to do. I try to do a voucher on say 30th May. Vendor again supplies me a value wise a bill. Sorry, I have to do purchases. So I am doing a purchase for some invoice number, which is they say 26th May, got delivered to me only after this date. And I am putting it under the same repairs and maintenance. I am saying the value of the item is around say 1,15,000. And I charge, he has charged me GST input as well as SGST input. And I have to deduct a TDS. So automatically the TDS is deducted on, it is deducted on the value of 1,15,000. That's how the TDS deduction works. There was a question saying how the interest calculation captures. Suppose I say autofill, stat payment, TCS payment from 1st April to 30th April, say 30th May, and the collection till 30th May. There's nothing to be done. So it is only interest payment. I am now doing something which is only interest payment. That also can be done. Let me try to do again for autofill. Let me say I am making the payment on 6th July. I am delaying the payment for certain things which are statutory payment, TCS payment up to 30th June, collected up to 30th June. So automatically it calculates. So suppose I know that interest has to be paid on this. I have to say that it is interest. It will not calculate automatically. I pressed Alt C in the amount column, 5,100 into 1.5% into, if you see at the bottom of my screen, it is calculating there. Say for 2 months there is a delay. I am not calculating exactly. If there is a delay of 2 months, Okay, there's some error. Alt C 5,100 into 1.5% per month into 2 months. So after percentage is not allowing me to calculate into 2. So it is a simple formula which has to be given and it calculates. That's it. So if I want to make it round off, I'll round it off myself. Otherwise, it will not round it off. It will round it off at 2 decimal places and calculate and give you the result. So Alt C in amount column or in the quantity column or in the rate column, where you can give it as Alt C, it takes you to the calculator and calculates based on the conditions which you give, which should be simple calculator, simple mathematics, which we had learned in the standard 4 or 5. That is, if you have to multiply, then make an addition, multiplication first, addition next. So that is the formula which will happen, and that's how the calculation takes place. So any doubt till this now before I hand over the proceedings to Shanmukha sir for taking over further? I think I have covered all the questions which are there. If there are some questions left out, please let me know. And if there is, please remember, if you are configuring and if you are configuring these transactions in such a way that no errors will happen on the part of the data. So for that, you have to learn the security levels in the software. The security levels will enable you to control the data fully. The errors from the employees will be controlled fully if you are going to activate. Take for example, features I don't allow someone to change. I don't allow the data once created, ledger created, to change. So that kind of a scenario if I create and I dedicate certain works to certain people, then the software will work excellently. Otherwise, it's more like using some software in a normal scenario. It's like using a smartphone as a normal touch phone, a normal keypad phone. That's how it will work. So with that, thank you for the opportunity. Let me take leave. Let Shanmukha sir continue from here. And thereafter, if there are some queries, I am there in the session. Any queries are there, I'll try to answer.
Sir, Shanmukha sir is going to present his screen, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will give the right to Shanmukha sir.
Yep.
Okay.
Sir, I've given the right to you, sir. Kindly share your screen, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Is my screen visible now?
Yes, sir.
Presentation is visible, right?
Yes, sir.
First of all, a big thanks to CEO Uttam sir for a wonderful session, sir. It was very informative. I believe definitely all the participants got a complete insight about the configuring TDS and TCS in Tally. Of course, you also put a lot of effort in answering all the questions. Thanks to your patience. So now today, I will take you through another session. It's more on technology. This what I'm going to show now is going to be one of the very demanding thing nowadays, and I have seen from last 3-4 years, many of these SMEs started actually thinking about these kind of solutions. So that is what is that solution I'm talking about is a cloud solution. Okay, then to whom this cloud solution is actually useful and who requires this kind of solution? So this solution is required for the businesses or the organizations who are working in a distributed environment. Not actually the companies will be having multiple branches. Even with one branch, if they are operating their business in a distributed environment, maybe somebody is working in a godown, somebody working from different branch in the same city, somebody is working from home. Now it has become so common nowadays. Working from home is one of the things. So for this kind of distributed operation business, now the cloud, looking for this cloud solution has become very nowadays for the SMEs are actually started exploring these kind of solutions. So before that, I'll just try to put a context. The customers who are using Tally for so many years, this requirement was there earlier also. Okay, it's not that actually today it's a requirement. So for these kind of businesses, in 2001, with Tally 6.3, we had come out with data synchronization, which helps basically to consolidate your branch data and put it in one, and you can actually generate the MIS report which is required for as per your requirement. And later on, we took this to the next level by introducing remote access in Tally ERP9 in 2009, wherein the business owners or any managers of the organization, if they're out of their organization, out of their office, they can actually still connect to their office. If it is office is open and operational, they can connect to their Tally from anywhere to see some reports, to generate some reports. Sometimes they can also pass some transactions. And again, we took this further to address this kind of requirement in 2019 by introducing Tally reports in browser. I don't know how many of you have actually experienced it. Now on mobile or on any device, if Tally is connected in your office, you can actually access your reports on mobile. So through the browser, without installing the Tally application, through browser, you can go and experience the report. You can generate the reports, you can download the report. And I was mentioning earlier, nowadays, sorry, my screen is not visible. Something went wrong.
Yes, sir, it is visible, sir.
Okay, so for me, does become
Sir,
full
in the
screen
scanning
actually.
option, you can actually see it, sir. So it is like an arrow mark with the TBU 2020 and the Tally ERP.9 release 6.6 2019.
Yeah.
It is looking like up. Am I right, sir?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you so much. So now, later in 2020, what we did, because many of the businesses actually looking for this cloud solution, and Tally was not actually working on Tally as a license. It was not allowing to the customer to connect. So we basically kind of authorized it. If somebody is putting Tally on cloud by using Tally virtual user as a facility, they can actually use Tally on cloud. That's the thing we introduced in year 2020. And now 2021 onwards, what we did, we closely worked with AWS, Amazon Web Server, and we have introduced a solution wherein you can actually host your Tally on Amazon Web Services. Okay, so that's the thing I'm talking about now. You are able to connect this distributed businesses, how they can actually get benefit by hosting Tally on cloud. So what are those things that can get it? So first thing is about this solution. This is reliable and everything you wanted to do on Tally, it is available there, and it is flexible in terms of choosing the resources, your hardware, and the number of users. Those things can also be selected by the user. It's a process agnostic and economical too. And this is solution actually made for the SMEs. If any of your clients who are SMEs and they're looking for this kind of solution, is one of the best solution. So what actually, how this solution, what this solution delivers to the customer is, there are today so many cloud solutions are available in the market. The uniqueness of this solution is the solution which the customer is going to buy, who is going to get a virtual machine that is actually dedicated for that customer. So there will be no shared system will be given to the customer. And if somebody decides to go on this solution, it is a very simple process of moving from on-premise to online. And while using the this cloud solution, many people actually think twice about the security. So we have actually taken care of those things by introducing two-layer authentication. The one is Talnet authentication, other one is the SecuriPin authentication. And of course, the customer who is going to buy this solution, they are going to get high available of the infrastructure. So that is where actually you are going to pay. So going on cloud means what? You are actually going and setting up your system, your office there, right? Then you can decide what kind of systems you want and what is the hard disk speed, what is the processor speed. So we are through this solution we are ensuring we will get a best out of it. And backup is one of the again critical requirement. So the multiple things, one is auto backup is in place in this solution, and customers still can take backup manually also. And the another thing is managing users and managing your computer. So if you want to shut down your computer before the time, or you want to start your office earlier, so all those things operation can be done by using a very simple web portal in this solution. So I'll just skip this screen. So let me just explain with a small representation on the screen how it works, how this solution works. Let's example say one of your customer, he wanted to go for this solution, and he says now he has got some 4 users at office, and all these 4 users today working in a distributed environment. So 2 people are coming to office, somebody is working from home, somebody is on travel, and he wanted to work on Tally every time and anytime from anywhere. So in such scenario, he can actually opt this solution. And AWS service, what it does is it actually create a virtual machine on the cloud. And in this virtual machine, they will have 4 computers for the 4 users. Okay, these 4 computers will have a storage, data storage, where they can actually store their data, and this data can also be shared between these 4. Okay, the one is there is a separate data which can be stored for a particular user, and also there is a shared data which can be shared by all 4 users. And apart from that, there is going to be a backup storage that is kept outside this. So you can rest assured that the data which is there entered by all these 4 users taken backup in a different storage. And since this setup is ready now, the users from outside, they can access their computers seamlessly by providing TallyNet ID and secure PIN. So to do this, either they can do it in, there are 2 options available for them. They can actually install a simple application called virtual computer connection application. Or if somebody says, no, I'm using Mac system, I'm using laptop, high-end laptops, they can still open Tally or work on Tally on any browser also. So in fact, every operating system will have browser. They can go to the browser and they can just open an URL, and through that URL they can connect to their virtual machine which is there under AWS service. They can continue to work on Tally Prime. So the setup is very simple. Again, as I mentioned, there are 2 options. One is installing the application, the connector. You can install it, but this connector it allows to install only in the Windows application, Windows operating system. It is again, it's a very simple step, 2-step installer. Once the installation completes, and the virtual computer connection application will be ready, and where you need to click on that virtual computer connection application, and you can log into your computer and you can work. So here what I'll do is I'll straight away take you to the application and I'll show you how it works. Can you please confirm, is my desktop visible now?
No, sir. Can you just stop the screen sharing and then you can start it, sir? Just stop it and then start it, sir.
Stop showing screen.
Yes, sir. Now you just share it, sir.
Share screen.
Yes, sir. Now your desktop is.
Okay. So I'm talking about this application. So this is a very simple application which I've installed in my computer, and I have got a virtual machine bought in, okay, under AWS services. So now to connect to my computer on AWS, what I will do, I'll just double click on this. I'll open this application, and once you open this application, it will ask the TallyNet ID, and I've given my TallyNet ID, and I'll give the password here and a secure PIN. So now what it does, so once I click on the login button here, now from my laptop, I'm trying to connect to my virtual machine which is installed on AWS. Okay, this is the desktop which is provided for me on the AWS service. So where Tally Prime is already installed, and in fact I'm the Tally Prime server user, the another application some of you might know about it, that is also there. And if you see on the desktop, there is a disk also is there where you can actually go and store your data, the multiple folders which are created, my application data where applications are installed already, and my files. If you want to store any Excel file or any other files, you can actually keep it here. Working files can be kept here. And there is a data folder, shared folder. Shared data is there where whatever data you put here. So all other users, because I am the user of 4 computers, right? So all other 3 users can also look at these folders. So somebody has created a company, and if that company need to be given access to all the 4 users, then you have to create company in this particular folder. Okay, now what is the next step? Next step is very simple. So you need to actually open your Tally, and if the license is not yet activated, you need to just reactivate your license. I'm talking about a scenario where Tally is already running in on-premise. Okay, now you are going for this solution, correct? So first you need to surrender your license in your office and come here and activate your license. Since I've already activated my license, you can see my license is shown here, and Tally Prime is opened. Now you can create company or you can open the company also. So what I'll do is I'll just open the company, select from drive, and from D drive you can see here shared folder. Under shared folder, all the companies which are there will be visible. I'll just open a company, and you can just see the experience of this. Okay, there is no much difference, right? So it is as good as working on a on-premise computer. So for that, to give that experience, what I'll do is I'll just quickly pass one transaction and show you. Let me pass a voucher. Let me pass a sales voucher. So the transaction is saved. So you will not actually find any difference working on local system or on the cloud system. Okay, now the question comes, sir, what all other options will work? So everything will work here. Okay, the requirement here is when you are working on cloud system, the system which is there on the cloud and the data entry which you are making. But when you want to print something, for example, I want to actually print the sales invoice. So when you want to print it, the printing should happen locally in your computer, right? So when I want to print the invoice, it should print to the printer where I have installed. So just to show that, now if I click on this printer option, you can see all the printer which are installed in my local laptop are shown. So I can choose that particular printer, and when I say print, it will print in the local system. I'm just giving one example so that you will get a clarity. So when I'm working on cloud, what happens? Okay, so this is the one requirement, and like that, you can, if you want to export something, you can export, and if you want to email any report, you can email. And you will definitely have a question, sir, whether this GST reports and all it will work or not. Definitely it will work. You can see all the reports, GSTR1, GSTR2, 3B, everything, it will work. Okay, and in fact, if customer is using e-invoicing or e-way bill generation, that also can be. Okay, I'll just close my Tally. Let me just come back to my presentation now. So this is one option I am talking about where you can actually install this virtual computer connection and open your connect your desktop and work on Tally Prime, and where you can actually see the data entry, printing, export, email, all these options will work. If somebody have a question in your mind, sir, I have done some customization, whether this customization will work on this environment or not. Definitely, all TDL customization will work. If you have done any integration with by installing any third-party application, currently we are not supporting, but that is also going to come in our future release. So similarly, the same thing, even if it works, if the Tally Prime server is installed, Tally Prime server also it works. Let me just show you another thing where as a user, how actually user can manage these computers. So for example, now I have actually brought this for the 4 users. Now I want to manage the user, I want to manage computer. Okay, so I have logged in here. So this is how actually the web portal which is given for the customer, where you can see here my name, the account name is which is given by Shanmukha, and I'm the owner of this, and the office is currently running. Okay, here you can actually go and do something. As I was mentioning, the first option was if you are having any other operating system other than the Windows. You know that Tally works on only Windows operating system. If you are using Mac or any other application, they can actually open this, log into this by using this URL, and they can still continue to work by using the browser. So now when I click on this option, what happens now? It will take you to that computer which is configured for you on AWS service, and the same desktop you can get it on the screen, and you will have the same experience. I'll just log out from here. So this is, I'm showing the second type of connection, wherein you can actually connect to your computer on the browser, and you can continue to work on Tally Prime through browser without installing the application. So this will help for the customer who are using any other operating system, okay, other than Microsoft Windows. So again, everything will work here as I've shown in the previous demonstration, where Tally Prime can be opened, and you can also store data. The similar experience will be there here also. And apart from this, few more things. Let me just close this. Where as a user, you can actually shut down your computer. For example, now for all the cloud the solution, generally they will have some timeline. Okay, maybe 12 hours. Okay, and beyond the 9 p.m. definitely there will be some additional charges will be there. So you can always shut down your computer which is there on the cloud. So you can shut down your computer, and you can, if you want, for some reason you want to restart your system, you can restart from here. And you want to add user, you can delete user. Those things can also be managed using this. By adding, you can actually create different users. For me, it is currently there are 12 users are there. That's why I'm able to create so many users here. And in the example which I'm showing, 4 users, you can create 4 users. Okay, and here also you can take backup. When you go to the manage backup, the auto backup is always there. You can see every startup it takes the backup. Apart from that, if you want to take a manual backup, you can just click on backup and you can take the backup. And this backup can be downloaded to your local system. That is very, very important, right? So because you are keeping data on the server, on the web server, and sometimes you feel that for your organization, at least once in a week or every day, you want to just pull the data, download the data from the AWS and keep it in your local system. That also can be done. The solution is built very, very simple, and the process also is very simple. Whenever, if any of your client or you want to actually experience this or buy this solution, you can contact our Tally partners. They will help you in configuring this solution for you. Okay, and getting this solution, it is very, very simple process. And just quickly, I'll just show you the plans which are available. Correct. So we have currently these many plans. If somebody wants to go for one user, that is also available. Okay, and this is the system configuration, they will get it. And the another one is for the regular 12 hours, that is for 2 users, and regular plus for 12 users, for the 4 users for 12 hours. And we also have up to 8 users, that's called regular pro. And performance, that's again for the 12 users and 16 users. We have users up to 32 users for Tally Prime server users. So based on your requirement, you can actually go for any plan. But before going for any plan, you always reach out to our certified partner in your city, whom you are connected with. They will help you. They will advise you the right solution for you. I hope this thing actually helped you. Whenever you have any questions, you can in the Q&A you can ask. Then apart from that, you can always reach out to our partners, or we also have local offices. If you are from Chennai, we have Chennai office, or any place, even in any state. If you are joining, you can connect with our Tally colleagues. They will help you. Thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to take.
Yes, sir. I will share my screen from my end, sir. So is my screen visible to you, sir?
Yeah,
So
it's visible.
From 33, we need to take, sir.
Okay, is it possible to view? It's a TDS question for sir actually.
Yes.
Is it possible to view the entire TDS group of ledgers? As of now, no. You have to go ledger by ledger and then you have to merge it. That's the reason why I showed you. If you want all the TDS ledgers to be seen with details with the bill number, the way I showed you, then you have to write a TDL. You can write a TDL, they will pull out and give you the entire information. As of now, by default, it is not available in Tally. But if you want, then you have to write a TDL where they will create. And then again, when they write the TDL, again, the grouping will be more relevant unless until you group it correctly. Because if you put everything under duties and taxes, then it will not work correctly. So you create under TDS payable ledgers, group it under that. And then if you want to write a TDL, they will be able to do it. Surely that GST number which are there in separate states, you have to create separate ledgers. It is benefited for you because when you do a GST reconciliation, that will be required. So you create separate ledgers and then transfer those ledgers into one single ledger. That may be the right way to do it.
Yeah. So question number 35, can we use Tally Prime in MacBook Air on virtual connection? Yes, that's what actually I have demonstrated. You can actually, using this solution, you can work on Tally Prime by using browser option. Okay. Hope this question is answered. Can I go to the next question? Question number 36, can we upload data using Excel upload utilities? If this question is related to this particularly on this AWS solution, if this utility is developed by using purely TDL, okay, without using any third-party exe or any third-party files, then it easily works. And apart from that, anyway, if you are using any third-party tool, definitely we are going to address this requirement in our upcoming release of this AWS. So how to install cloud system? It's a very generic question. If you are asking a question, sir, I am using Tally currently on premise and how can I install on cloud? This is the solution today we're talking about. You can always reach out to our partners in your city. They will help you.
So those were the questions compiled, sir.
So even when the case of uploading data using Excel upload utilities, the upload utilities which are already there with you, and if you are going to be in the standalone machine, then it has a TDL which is there, which works that way. Otherwise, Excel and Tally does not merge. It's a XML with Tally, which is the import export option which are available. So when they write a TDL, they give in the front end Excel, back end it gets converted into XML, and that XML is pulled inside to Tally.
Correct. So one piece of additional information, since now these requirements are coming more frequently from the field, we are going to bring this solution in default tally in our upcoming release. Okay, can you please go ahead with the next question?
Yes, sir. Those were the questions compiled from the members, sir. So many were like asking, can you share the tally partner details in Kolkata or an Hyderabad local contact details? So where can they get the details, sir, actually? As you said.
It's all there in our website. They can go to website, or they can actually send mail to me. You can share my email ID. I
Yes,
think you
sir.
have my email ID. They can write to
Yes.
me. I will.
Yes, sir. So those were the questions from my end, sir. Is there anything else? If the session is like, so Uttam sir, is there anywhere else so you need to take, sir?
I think you can share the email addresses so that if anyone wants to ask some question, that will be there. You can put it on the screen so that it become easier. And we are through
Yes.
with the session. If there are some questions to be answered, we are ready.
Yes. So we'll wait for 2 more minutes. If any question comes, we'll take up, sir.
Yeah, no issues.
Sir, there is a question. What is TDL?
Okay, it's a good question. So TDL is basically Tally customization, Tally developer language. It's called a long form is. So if somebody wants to customize your Tally based on your requirement, just to give an example, there is a when you print invoice in Tally, it comes in the format, but you want to actually change the format, or you want to add few columns, add few fields. In that case, actually you have to go for this customization. Okay, the customization is called TD.
Sir, I'll put it this way. TDL is a software which is an interaction between your input and output file. The input being tally, the output being your printer. So when there is a movement of data which is happening from tally to the printer, you can intervene and change the concept. Say people come to know that you have given a tally printout, and if the tally printout is not to be known that which software I am using, then what they do is they change this place where the data is stored or given in the printout. So that is what is TDL, the simplest TDL. The complex TDL is, say, for example, I have a head office, I have a branch office. Head office transfers the goods to the branch office. So it's a sale for the head office, purchase for the branch office. So this voucher is exported, converted into a purchase voucher and pulled in here. So there's no human intervention which is happening. These are the complicated TDL. And then when the TDL are put into TCPs, and then that is so there is a secured scenario. That is what is TDL and TCPs. Is it enough if all the TDS for the month is paid under one challan under 194C? Yeah, it is enough. It can be paid through one challan. That's not an issue. The challan has to be allocated to the number of entries for which this challan has to be adjusted. You cannot allocate more than the value of the challan. You can allocate less than that possible. Is there any facility available where we can see on account balance of for all the data at the same time? Yes, it is possible. You have to go to the display statement of accounts, outstandings, and there you say party wise, bill wise, you say period wise, automatically on account will be shown in one basket outside. But it is not advisable to use on account. It is always better to use new reference or against reference, not even advances. Can we have YouTube videos on Tally Prime pages? It's all available. Go to the website, it is available. We go to the website tallysolutions.com. These are
Yes.
available,
So,
and even YouTube also it is available. How to get integrate data for final report by different departments? I am not able to understand this question. If there are different datas also, you can do it. That is what is called group company. You can create a group company where you can add all the companies as a group, and then you can generate one balance sheet. There's only some check and balances which are to be done across all the companies, so that when you compile, it doesn't get a mismatch. For example, someone calls you by one name and someone else calls you by some other nickname. The nickname and the name will not be known to the public at large. The same way the software also will not understand this. So unless until you have consistency across all the data, the group company concept or integration of data may not work correctly. Using TDS ledger can generate FEU for TDS. That's what I try to do it. TDS ledger FEU file was generated. I was not able to generate the challan file. If I had generated the challan file, both I would have verified and I would have given you a report also. Sir, can we interutilize the TDS challan between company directories and non-company directories? Yes, you can. See, the company directories and non-company directories is for the government to come out with the report saying that corporate tax collected is this much, non-corporate is this much. This is only for that purpose. Otherwise, the challan is gone to the kitty of the government and you can utilize it. I don't see any issues in this.
So yes, sir, those were the questions, sir. So yes, another question. Sir,
Shanmukha sir, you have to answer this question. Is there any specific language? This is a tally special language which is required. Customization you have to learn. You can also learn. That's not a big deal.
correct.
It can be learned.
Similar to the C language programming, if you know C++ language programming,
For TDL in Tally itself. Now, do you have that?
sir, I missed out.
Shanmukha sir, earlier Tally used to come out having classes on TDL writing. Has it stopped or still continuing?
See, currently we are not doing directly from Tally because of the bandwidth issue. So we have some partners who are actually skilled and they are doing it. If anyone looking for this kind of trainings, you can reach out to us. We will advise them where they can join.
This question was earlier there. Again, it is coming up. See, again, it is a question by which you have to talk about the procedure to whom the payment is made. If the payment is made to the person to whom the GST number has been allotted, the TDS also has to be the same person. Just because you make the payment to someone else, that doesn't absolve you, because the income pertains to that person, the person from whom you had the bill, from whom you had the GST. So that is the person for whom you have to deduct the TDS, and the section which is to be applied is based on the transaction per se, not on the whether it will come under 194I or 194H. That is the call which you have to take, where this has to be deducted, but the deduction has to happen who has provided you the bill, not the person to whom you made the payment. The payment may go through one third party also.
Yeah, the next question is on AWS pricing. This pricing, depending on actually which plan you are opting for, depending on the number of users. If you are going for one user, that definitely the cost will be a little more. And if you are going for the number of users more, like 16 users, it will be less. So for one user, it will cost you somewhere around 700 plus tax per month. But whereas if you are going for 16 users, per user cost will get reduced drastically.
One client has paid the TDS through Challan 281. He has forgotten to file the eTDS. This was 2 years back and the same is still not utilized. Can we use this amount? Two things. One, if he has deducted tax which is genuinely to be deducted, non-filing of TDS is an error. So file the TDS, pay the late fee, close the matter. So there ends the matter. Provided if you say that no, that was inadvertently deducted, no TDS return was to be filed, then the same cannot be used now because the time limit is gone. So you have to go for refund. But if it is already deducted for a particular person and TDS was not remitted, then you are supposed to file the TDS return, but he will not get the credit. So practically, if you want, then you have to ask for refund only. It cannot be used now because the time limit, if I am not wrong, it is only 12 months. So next question is yours.
Basically, which language is preferred easily to write TDL according to the so this TDL itself, it is a language which is developed by Tally, so you can use this to write the program. And if you ask me the coding technology wise, if you ask me, it is like C programming language only. So the short answer is TDL itself, it is a programming language. Okay, it is developed by Tally.
So Tally accounting package has its own language, which is a special language, and that is the language it has been using since when it came out of the 3.8 release. The same language is continuing. Is it in affect the organization if we revise TDS return multiple times due to multiple revision in Tally? Why Tally is coming into this picture? Multiple times TDS returns have been filed because you had done the error of not reporting some transaction. And if you are going to do repeatedly the revision, it's an alarm for the company, because why should you revise the return multiple times? It will always be revising. Then the department will come to know that you are revising again and again. So is there something wrong? They may do a survey, possible, but Tally has nothing to do with it.
So if those were the questions compiled from our end, sir, actually.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So is there anything else, sir, or can we close the session, sir?
It's up to you.
So, sir,
You
yes.
can answer the questions if they're coming. And if you have answers, then you reply. No issue.
Yes, sir. So the questions have been stopped actually. So
Okay.
yes, another question is on the same question, sir, actually. So what is the TDS procedure? Actually, one second. So I will just share it.
Because the member would have gone out, wouldn't have listened to my answer. So he's asking again, maybe.
Yes, I will share my screen. One second. Is my screen visible, sir? So I
Yeah,
think you
yes.
have like
I think this question was answered already.
yes, sir. It is like again and again popping.
Again, I will repeat the same thing. If it is to the person to whom you make the payment, to whom it is made the payment, that is the income of that person, and that amount you have to deduct the TDS. If it is a TDS on a particular bill and the bill is pertaining to a particular GSTN number, for that value you have to deduct only on that person. And the balance, if it has gone to someone else, if you are able to find it out, the balance, whether it is liable or not, you have to see, and then you have to deduct for that. It can be a composite bill given by the same person. Possible. See, it all depends on the online platforms are differently working. The online platform, for example, Amazon or Flipkart or so on, so on, so forth, everyone raises the invoice directly to you and sends the material directly to you. The payment goes through Amazon. Amazon deducts something and pays to them. For you, what you paid is for the product or for the services which you have utilized. You will deduct the tax totally. And if you feel that this amount has been paid to X and the billing is done by Y to me, that doesn't make a difference. The deduction has to happen once. It is for the parties in between to decide how the tax has to be deducted or not deducted. Now coming to the section 194H or I, you have to take a calculated risk of saying how do you classify under that particular transaction. If you classify that as a renter hotel, then it will go under 194I. But if you say it is a brokerage or commission, it is not a brokerage or commission on the total value. So 194H cannot come totally. It will be 194I and the total amount has to be looked into and the TDS has to be deducted. The big question mark is how do you get a refund? That's a big question mark. That is a practical problem which is there, for which I don't have a solution. In this part, in this transaction, there are three parties involved: Make My Trip, the hotel, and you. So you take the services from Make My Trip, and Make My Trip in turn ask someone else to provide the service. But they may ask you to raise the invoice directly to avoid their complications. But that doesn't absolve you from the TDS provision. So you will deduct on the transaction. You have to take a calculated risk and a calculated decision why you are deducting on so and so. If you are going on the payment basis, the bill is provided by Make My Trip only. The service is provided by someone else. So that is the reason why you have these issues.
Yes, sir.
And
So,
even GST, you may not get the input if it is outside Tamil Nadu. If you are in Tamil Nadu and the GST bill comes from outside Tamil Nadu for a hotel, you will not get the input because it is property based.
yeah.
Yes, ma'am. You can close now.
Yes, sir. The last question. It's simple to validate a TDS. First, we have to have a file. Then we download in OL, TAS, CSI file.
Volta CSI file.
Then after choosing in which path the validate file save. If any error is there, it is generated error file where the error got.
I am aware of this procedure, but I was not able to generate the Volta CSI file. That's the only thing. Once I had done it, that would have happened. The challan, the transaction details were picked up from Tally. The challan details I could not pick it up. That's the reason why I was not able to validate. That is the procedure. I understand that, but we did not have that Volta's CSI file because this all are dummy data. We don't have the actual data to generate that. Anyhow, thank you for sharing the information.
Yes, sir. So those were the questions compiled from our end, sir, actually. So thank you so much for your time, Uttamchand sir and Shanmukha sir. So patiently taking all the questions and you are like answering it and sharing your wide knowledge to all the members. And I just thank the members who are like staying till the end of the session. So thank you so much, sir, once again.
Thank you.
So
It was our pleasure to be part of this program.
Yes, thank you so much for having you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll end the session.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.